Hey everyone, so this is a little bit of an impromptu video. I think I mentioned in my last video that I'm reading The Story of Philosophy. I think I drew a blank on the author's name, but it's Will Durant. This is the book right here. And I've started to read this because in looking for quotes for my Oracle deck, found that Google's not the best place for that, right? I ended up having to get a subscription to Scientific American, and I had to read articles about stuff and really find the source. And this book from 1968, it's a reprint from it, gives some really good comprehensive knowledge and information about philosophy, all the way from Socrates to current time frame. So I've gone through Socrates, I've gone through Aristotle and Plato, and although there's some really foundational stuff in those chapters and in their philosophies, there's a lot that they were a little bit ignorant to, just based on the time period, but also based on the scientific knowledge that they had. Even though Aristotle is the father of science in a lot of ways, that's just a little bit of I didn't feel called to make a video on anything about that. But now I'm heading into Francis Bacon, and I'm getting a little bit of a history in the intro about the Stoic belief system in Greek and Athens and Eastern civilization at the time. 5th century BC to the turn of the century. And I got to a quote from Epictetus, who is not a chapter in the book, but is talked about as having some Stoic beliefs from the first century that led into some of what the religious faith took on. And it really goes along with what I was talking about in my video about the difference between soul growth and manifestation, and the philosophy that I have on this channel, which is that, yes, a lot of the things that religious faith, Christianity, whatever, has built its foundation upon is illuminating, and it is something that can really be harnessed and understood in a way that brings a soothing element to the soul and to our lives, right? But it's more warped and manipulated to direct us towards fear. And you can check that video out. I go into that there. But the quote that really drove me to make this video, and let me just say this, I am making these videos because these quotes speak to what I'm learning right now in my life. And so if I can harness some information from the past, i.e. why I'm reading this book, to coincide with what I feel like I'm being driven towards is my soul growth and my lessons from my spiritual awakening, then boom, perfect combination. I want to bring that to you. Okay. And one other thing, for those of you on my tarot channel, I will have a little bit of a reading at the end here. But if you're on my travel channel, I am going to post this because I do feel like it's important information and it might help you. But tarot channel will have the tarot portion. Okay, so the quote here is, "Seek not to have things happen as you choose them, but rather choose that they should happen as they do, and you shall live prosperously." Here's the other part of this that Will Durant says as a sidebar to that quote from Epictetus. He says, "No doubt can in this manner dictate the future." Oh, I'm sorry. "No doubt one can in this manner dictate the future and play royal highness to the universe." So I agree with what he said. It's a little bit, confusing to understand, and I only understand it because it's the reason I wanted to make this video and why I feel like I'm learning this. And so I mentioned about religion kind of taking these ideas and fear-basing them and trampling on their meaning, kind of using them to control the populace, right? And trying to keep us kind of together. And how could they do that? quite easily with this quote, right? Seek not to have things happen as you choose them, but rather choose that they should happen as they do, and you'll be prosperous. Like, that is easily manipulated into, don't choose to have more. Don't think you're going to get things your way. Be happy with what you have, right? And stay in that little box, right? You can formulate these quotes to really, or these themes, right? These ideas to really fit your main goal or your main objective, right? Your agenda. Christian church can easily take this and force people to live in a box of their, of their own stagnation, out of fear or out of disbelief that they could have more. That's not what the quote, though, is about. The quote for me, and why this resonates so much, is that the more that we try to, micromanage and control every little thing about the way our lives go, the more we're working against stream, right? The more we're working uphill, right? The more we're not able to sit back and enjoy what life has given us. It doesn't mean we only accept what life has given us. In fact, it opens the door to allow us unlimited potential of choice. Because if we can understand that it's not about us outlining every point in our life, right? It's not about us structurally, making the desired steps and meeting every single one of them exactly as how we want. Because, our highest good is not necessarily what we think our good in the moment actually is, right? It's about growth. It's about soul ascension. It's about, knowledge and wisdom. Our soul is here to do stuff. It's not here to just, get everything it wants. And if it gets everything it wants on the surface, those people that seem to have a lot and seem to, be lucky in that way, they're learning their own lessons, no doubt. You can be sure of that. Right? I talk about that in that video about winning the lottery and wealth and how that brings a whole set of problems, right? So it's all perspective, right? It's all, it's sometimes hard to see that from the outside looking in. So really, it doesn't serve us to do that too much, right? But then we get into comparison, right? Which was part of my last reading, the message in the last reading. And we get into we vibrate incorrectly because we're too focused on the outside. It really just serves us to be inside. Okay, so back to this quote. So if we can understand that we're not seeking to micromanage what happens, right, as we want them to happen, but rather that we just hope that things happen the way that they're going to happen for our highest good, right? I'm going to paraphrase that. Then we can choose to do the things that bring us joy, right? It actually opens us up to not to have to be, workaholics, or not have to follow the blueprint of anything else or anyone else. In fact, if we can just believe that our prosperous life is going to play out the way it's going to play out, then we can lighten our energy, 10 of Wands energy, get it off our back, off our shoulders, and choose to do things that bring us joy. Because those choices are, number one, going to bring us joy and happiness and are things that we like to do, but are the harmonious way to aligning with that path that we want to see, that we want to be on, that we might not be understanding exactly how to achieve with our overactive overthinking. The mind can actually be a hindrance in this sense, because we think we know exactly how to do everything. But all we have to do is follow our heart, and that will lead us to things that follow the trajectory of our lives. Right? And so so in this quote, again, you can almost look at it as, well, the pushback I had on it immediately, right? the triggering moment it had on me immediately was, well, if they happen as they should, then isn't that just mean that everything's fated and that everything's destined and that we don't have control and that, you know, what's good use of trying? No. In fact, it actually allows us to, like I mentioned, choose the things we want to choose, and opens that narrow bottleneck that we think we have to fit into based on what we think we want in the time we think we want it, in the way we think we need it, into a dam that opens up that says, let your heart flow, right? Let the water flow. Let it all rush forward the way you want it to, or the way you choose to, right? Because again, it's not that we're looking in the future and saying, I would choose to have X, Y, and Z in the future. That's choosing, that's seeking to have things happen the way you choose it. Instead, take that out of the future and say, what do I want to participate in right now? Right? I'm in this cabin right now. I'm living in the woods and enjoying the outdoors and working on my stained glass. Right? Reading this book that I love, starting to play video games, which is actually difficult for me because I feel like in a lot of ways, leisure time can, you know, that's my limiting belief, that leisure time is a waste of time because it's not productive. But it serves me to have a little fun, have a little bit of my inner child come out, right? So that opens the door for us to select now what will bring us joy, and not put that joy into a future that we, one, don't have necessarily have control over, in that we can't micromanage it. We have control over the now. And so, you know, choosing that they happen as they should allows us to say, the pressure's off. We can choose to do the things we love to do now. We can choose to take part in the activities that bring us joy now. And that will, in essence, lead us to a future that we enjoy. However that looks. Be open to how that looks. But I'll guarantee you that if you're now choosing things that you enjoy to do, without having any answers about where it's going to go, as long as you're now choosing things that light you up and bring you joy, which was a lot about what the last reading was about, I guarantee you that future may not be exactly the way you envisioned it from your mind, but your heart will lead you to something congruent to it, and most likely better than you think. Because you started from here. You didn't start from reaching to there. So I love that quote. Seek not to have things happen as you choose them, but rather choose that they should happen as they do, and you shall live prosperously. As long as you choose to, understand that your life will be, that's what I want to say here. Make the decision now to enjoy your life. Don't make the decision now to only enjoy your life if X, Y, and Z happen. That's mortgaging your happiness. So, if you're on my travel channel, I hope you enjoyed this video and got something from it. If you're on my tarot channel, in about a moment, I'm going to jump to tarot. We'll get some messages, okay? So, see you there.